Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video we're going to discuss why I think August and leading into early September is going to be the most bullish time for crypto. And throughout the week in the videos that I've been making, we have been building a thesis on why I do believe we are approaching that final stage for not only the cryptocurrency market but eventually the end of the alt season. But before that happens, I do believe we go into an explosive parabola like we seen back on Litecoin in 2017 here. So in today's video, we're going to tie all of that together, everything we've discussed throughout the week, and I'm going to show you guys how everything that's playing out right now is exactly what we want to see before price can expand and lead us into what I believe will be the most exciting time ahead in the altcoin market. So lots to cover in today's video, guys. Let's jump into it. Firstly, I just want to start by saying thanks for the support in yesterday's video. I do believe it was one of my best videos in just the way that we covered the dollar here on the lower time frames, pulled references from how things have played out in the past on the US dollar and shown that we are performing similar structures again, and that right at these final stages where we do see the dollar bottom is where we actually started to see the alt season start in 2021. So if you haven't watched yesterday's video, I highly recommend you go and watch that. But for today's video, I do want to start with Bitcoin. And what we can see is that we actually have had a little bit of a flush and just swept the liquidity at the lows here, which was set back on the 25th of July. And in Monday's video, we did touch on how there could be a little bit of trickery here as far as the ABC correction goes. And we drew reference to how things actually played out during mid-2024. And if we have a look back to that time in mid-2024, you can see when the ABC correction did come in here, there was just that one more final sweep here to grab that liquidity from the bottom side, and that ended up being the correction. And that it wouldn't have been surprising to see things play out similar to the way they did during mid-2024. However, just in this much smaller time period before things can get exciting again for Bitcoin. So right now for Bitcoin, I do think we actually have completed this little corrective phase. And I think what comes next is the move up. And I do believe we will see this in August. There may be one more correction along the way like we can see in this phase here. But I don't think that's going to stop us from reaching that top of about $150,000 in this final 5-wave move to the upside for Bitcoin. And if you're wondering where I have charted this from, this is simply just the M2 money supply and where it's actually sitting right now in comparison to Bitcoin. But this is not a Bitcoin video, and I don't think Bitcoin is going to be what's most exciting for the market coming up. I think it's going to be, like we touched on in yesterday's video, when we start to see the dollar get back to these resistance levels and then break down, it will be the alt season we see in a moment like this. And that during this exact same time frame, we should actually see the Bitcoin dominance break down from these levels, just like it did back here in 2021, which gave us that second phase of the alt season. So let's move into the altcoin market here, and as we can see, this is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. Earlier in the week, we marked this out and said that historically in the past, what we've seen is once the altcoin market has made it back through retracement levels, we would find support above this 702 Fibonacci retracement level. And in today's sell-off, you can see that we have smack bang nailed that 702 Fib level and are actually bouncing from here now. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the coming week or two, we do see the altcoin market here chop around in these zones before eventually breaking out to the upside. But right now, finding support exactly where we wanted to see the altcoin market find support. And if we have a look at the board here along some select altcoins, you can see that a lot of the stronger coins in the altcoin market are actually holding up quite well here. I'm still looking for H-bar to come a little bit deeper. However, if this is where it ends up finding a bottom, it wouldn't surprise me to see things actually break up to the upside from here. Now, if we have a look at XLM, I think this is a great area where XLM will actually find a bottom here. And I think we're starting to see a lot of these coins actually wrap up this little corrective phase that they've been in since that very explosive breakout that we had in early July. And I think there's a lot of coins like even Litecoin here, which is finding support in a beautiful region. ADA has also found support right where I was looking for it to find support. And I wouldn't be surprising to see it actually bounce from these regions here after a clean back test of the mid-range of this accumulation structure that it formed over the start of 2025. And a lot of the stronger coins like CRV, HBAR, and even SUI here are all finding support in regions that we would likely want to see them bounce from. Even if we have a look at XRP here, which I believe is one of the strongest altcoins in the market right now, it is finding support exactly where we wanted to see it find support here. And that everything that just played out here for XRP is exactly like what we touched on for Litecoin. And you can see that this was Litecoin's accumulation structure that it formed in the middle of its bull market. That's its bear market, mid-cycle correction. This is the final phase that ended up happening. And you can see that once it did break out from this all-time high, set back here over on the left side of the screen, there was a big flush, there was a low, and then you could see that Litecoin did just sweep the low there for another stab down before then eventually breaking to the upside. And if we have a look at how XRP is playing out right now, you can see it has done the same thing. It's gone for that stab and now it's just set a lower low here, similar to the way Litecoin did back in 2017, when not only breaking out, but breaking out from the same mid-range accumulation structure, setting new highs, the same way XRP has broken out from the same range, set new highs, and now we've seen the pullback actually play out in the exact same fashion. And then what happened next on Litecoin was you've seen price shoot back to the upside, find support back on its previous all-time high, and then that was it. It shot up from there, and then that was the final parabolic move in Litecoin's cycle. And what's even more funny about this is you can see that when Litecoin pulls back here, it pulls back to just above its 702 Fibonacci retracement level from that previous high set to the base of its accumulation range here. And if we chart the same thing out on XRP, from the top here to the base of this first crashing structure, not the tariff scare, you'll see that XRP has landed in the exact same region, right above that 702 Fibonacci retracement. You can see on the left here, this is that line right there. And XRP is finding support in the same region that Litecoin was, which is just scarily similar. And what you can see happen next for Litecoin was that explosive move, which is why I do think August and leading into early September will be the most exciting time for crypto, because not only has XRP back tested the same way Litecoin did in 2017, but the total altcoin market has also backtested that 702 Fibonacci retracement level, just like mapped out earlier in the week. So moving ahead, this is kind of what I see playing out on XRP. On the top is the way that XRP's price has been reacting, but on the 15-minute time frame and down on the bottom side of the screen here is the accumulation range we formed through most of 2025, which ended up leading to the breakout. And I do think that the way this accumulation range has played out is very similar to the way things played out during the time period on the bottom here. And I do think we have seen that final flush here where that C leg has come in for XRP. And what we'll be looking for moving into the weekend and into next week is for XRP to shoot to the upside, reclaim this range. Basically how I've mapped things out in the black here, and that if we do see things play out like this, I wouldn't be surprised to see XRP break to the upside leading into next week. So guys, what I'm trying to show in today's video is that I do believe we are moving into this final stage here where we see the US dollar actually break down and the alt season, similar to the way things played out in 2021. And we're also seeing a lot of these coins like XRP actually play out the same way Litecoin did right at the end of that same period, but actually from 2017, and that there's a serious confluence of events here that's occurring throughout the entire cryptocurrency market and even the altcoin market. And then I think once we actually see these highs get taken out for the altcoins here and we move into this final stage and we see the US dollar breakdown, that a lot of these coins that are putting in really strong structures right now and actually holding strong in these levels, like CRV, like SUI, like HBAR, XLM, ADA, even Solana, that when things do get going, these coins will aggressively push to the upside and have a pretty crazy alt season, which should last for around 30 days. However, there are some coins that I don't think will have the most exciting time, like TIA. TIA is sitting on supports here, so not the worst thing in the world. However, if you start to look at charts like this compared to the way things like XRP are playing out, it's just a night and day difference on what coins are actually leading the market here, like Binance Coin, which has set new all-time highs and holding up extremely strong during this time, that I think will go on and perform the best when we do see the second phase of this alt season, similar to the way we've seen things play out here in 2021. So throughout the weekend, we'll be seeing if Bitcoin ends up holding these lows. Maybe we see Bitcoin just take that one more stab down just a little bit further here. However, I do think that come early next week, we will see price completely rebound on not only Bitcoin, but XRP. And that if we do see things play out like they did during the final stages of this accumulation structure, like they did at the end of June, then it wouldn't surprise me to see the same thing come next. And that was this explosive move that got us to where we are today. So I'll keep you guys updated on how things actually play out here over the weekend. I believe we'll see new all-time highs for not only Bitcoin, but the altcoin market during August. I believe we'll also see the second phase of alt season play out just like it did in 21 this month. And I think we'll see XRP go on to perform like Litecoin did in 2017, find support in the same regions that Litecoin did and actually go on and complete a full 4.236 extension. And that today is the 1st of August. And I think by the 31st of August, we're going to see XRP's price up in these full extension ranges, just like Litecoin did, which for those new to the channel is a $8.70 to roughly $10 XRP. And I look forward to clipping this come the end of the month. If you enjoyed today's update video, feel free to leave a like on the video. If you're new here and you enjoy this style of content, subscribe down below. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comments section. And I'll see you guys back on Monday, where we most likely see price rebound back into the mid-range here. Have a good weekend.